Hey everybody, and welcome to our early comic review video. I'm Andy.
I'm Matt.
We're here with Infinity Flux Comics out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, and this is our big show where we show you some of the biggest and best books that are releasing this week to your local comic book store, whether that be Infinity Flux here, infinityflux.net, or your local comic book store. That's probably not Infinity Flux unless you live around here. But this is our show where we show you some of the big stuff that's coming out this week, so you better have a better idea of when you go to the comic book store or you go to infinityflux.net what you might be interested in, because it's kind of a challenge every week because there's a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And this week is no exception. You can see two big heavy hitters right here at the start. So let's get into it.
Yeah, let's start off with DCKO number 3, which I just realized was not the next to last issue. It's a 5-issue series. I thought it was 4.
You got a Christmas miracle.
I know, right? It's like, we get more DCKO. So yeah, but this is issue number 3. And this is round 3 of the tournament.
Which sounds weird because they had so many rounds within rounds with the Fight Month.
Yeah, because number 2 wasn't round 2. That was in the All Fight Month books. But
round 1, issue 1 wasn't really round 1. It was the preliminary round.
So, but it's all fixed now. And in this issue, we have our Elite 8, our final 8 contestants in this tournament. And just like previous rounds, they are all pitted against each other. However, this time, each one of the remaining 8 characters gets to choose a partner that will fight with them. They get to choose those partners from the huge cast of characters that have already been eliminated from the tournament. So what that gives us is 4 really cool 2v2 battles. They can't just pick any random character. It has to be somebody who was actually in the tournament and got eliminated and is now a big stone statue. But yeah, so they... Isn't it? Oh no!
No, there is a wild card.
It is anybody.
It is anybody, which I even think they say from what's eliminated, but somebody kind of breaks the rules.
I didn't even realize that.
I need to go back and read how that happened.
Yeah,
but now that you're saying it, I was like, yeah. Hold on.
Yeah, there is one character who was not in the tournament. So how did that happen?
I don't know.
Okay, anyway, it doesn't matter because there's 4 big battles, 2v2, and I don't want to tell you who picks who.
That's the fun of it, is seeing who they choose.
Yeah, but I will say that some of the revived characters are happy to have a second chance. Some of the revived characters don't really know why they were picked in the first place, and some of them do not want to be paired up with the person who picked them.
Yeah,
which was pretty cool too. And I'm not going to tell you who wins or anything like that, but I will say that these battles are awesome. Almost the entire issue is just nothing but these big, tough heroes going at each other. I will say that there is one double-page spread in particular that when I turned the page and saw it, I literally just put the book down and just leaned back and just exclaimed with joy because it's such a cool thing to see. There's a couple more things. There's a little something in here with Superman that I don't want to tell you about. I'll let you see that for yourself. But Superman has a little bit of a personal introspection, I guess.
Yeah. There's still that scene going on about when they were all together before playing a board game.
Yeah.
And that is, I like the parallels between that and Superman kind of coming to understand about playing a game.
Yeah.
And what that entails, even though you're playing against your friends.
Yeah. So just another, we can't really tell you much. There's not really all that much more to say because it's mostly just like these heroes, knocking each other out. Obviously not going to tell you who wins, but, by the time we get to the last page, we see what the big final challenge is going to be. Although I guess it's not going to be the final challenge now that I realize there's another issue after that. But yeah, it's really cool. I think last week we talked about the DCKO boss fight, the one shot. That's the book with Homelander and Red Sonja and all that stuff. That follows this. If you don't read that, you could jump straight from this into DCKO number 4 and be 100% fine. But that boss battle book is really cool too. We'll talk about that when it's time for that to come out. But
I will say it was a nice kind of sigh of relief I got after finishing this one, because we did read the boss battle issue, and in that it does give away a little bit about how this issue ends.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. Well, I guess when I read this, I kind of know what happens. I didn't know what was going to happen.
I was still pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, because there's just, this is another great example of a series that is not about really the destination.
Yeah.
It's about the journey and the cool stuff along the way. And this is packed full of cool moments and like still full of surprises.
Oh, yeah.
Still characters doing stuff that you never considered they would do. It's a blast.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know, the final page where that's going to go in the next issue, I can't wait for that. So yeah, I've had a blast with this event. I've loved every issue of the main book. I've loved every tie-in, and this is no different than any of that stuff. This is a great issue.
I can't wait for a collected edition to reread this.
Yeah.
Because so much of this book has been anticipation on the next one. To
Yeah.
actually have the full thing and go straight through it, it's gonna be really cool.
Yeah. So this is our A cover right here, and it's one of the acetate covers where you pull back the top part and you see the full cover there. We've also got some variants. We have the Daniel Warren Johnson, Harley Quinn versus Lobo. That doesn't happen, but it would be cool if it did. We have the Cohen variant with Zatanna. This is the one that I pre-ordered. This is the Dan Mora variant that shows you your Elite 8 right there.
Yep.
We have this Ben Oliver Lobo variant.
It's like the face-off variant, I think.
Yep. We have, this is the Dan Mora. That is Dan Mora, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Dan Mora. These are the AEW variants, so that's Firestorm. That is not Logan Paul, like a lot of people on the internet are saying. That's no. I don't know what his name is, but there is a guy in AEW that's this guy. I don't know. Somebody in the comments let me know, but that's not Logan Paul. I just want to put it out there.
No, Logan Paul's in WWE.
That's right. That's exactly right.
And AEW is a different thing altogether.
This is the foil cover. Is that the A cover?
That's the A cover without the acetate.
Yep. And then we have this 1 in 25 Cully. Cully, is that no? Not. I thought it was Cully Hamner, but that's K Cully.
It's a cover K.
Oh, cover K. This is the Cully Hamner. A 1 in 25 that we're selling for $14.99.
Yeah, this issue was great. This is really shaping up to be one of my favorite DC crossovers, pretty much since maybe Blackest Night, and I can't think of another one that I've enjoyed
definitely
this much.
100%. My favorite since New 52 was over.
Yeah,
I guess definitely, and actually even before that, I guess. So
yeah, it's just
Will Ospreay. Thank you, person on TikTok that we're also streaming on. Will Ospreay. That's who that person is on AEW.
Well, I have it's kind of a lead into an event that we're going to be getting later this year in the summer. This is Knull #1. This was actually really good and really interesting with fantastic art. So this is by Al Ewing and Tom Waltz are the writers on it, with art by Juan and Ramirez. And from the first page, a full body shot of Knull really kind of sets up the tone for this book. So this kind of comes off of the end of the previous run of Venom, which you knew the number right off. I can't.
Number 250. Oh, I had to look it up.
Okay.
I couldn't remember either. It's like the last couple pages of Venom 250 where we see Knull in a cage, and then it's like, oh, Hela got him, and how did that happen?
Yeah. So this picks
right
up kind of right there from that big surprise of Knull's still around, and he is in a cage lorded over by Hela. And we know that we are getting a big story coming in the summer called Queen in Black. So kind of you had King in Black, now we have Queen in Black. But how is this possible? How is Knull in this cage? How is Hela stronger than him at this moment? That pretty much gets explained here. So this issue kind of goes back and forth a little bit between recapping who Knull is, going all the way back to his creation or his inception in the void nothingness of space, and the Celestials came along and kind of brought light, and anything that's not nothing, Knull hates.
Right.
His ultimate thing is he wants nothing. Knull, the absence of things is kind of his...
Which, I mean, I can kind of relate.
Sometimes I'm into that. But so we get from that all the way through King in Black, and so you kind of get a good recap, especially if you didn't read all of King in Black, since that was quite a few years ago. But you know of the character Knull. This does give you a good, although brief, Cliff Notes version of his character. but we do see him then in that cage, and he's being watched over by an Asgardian guard, who's kind of just like an average Asgardian guard, but he does have a symbiote armor suit. And what's interesting is this does play off of some of the events that are going on in Thor right now, because there is that disconnect between Midgard and the other realms. And this apparently is on Midgard somewhere. We don't quite know where.
Is it?
Yeah, because
I didn't get that.
Yeah, that's how they can do all this, is they're separated from the other gods.
I did not pick up on that. They did mention how Midgard is separated from everything else, but I didn't pick up that that's where they are, and thus, Knull can't get anywhere else. I didn't. Okay.
Yeah, so that's really interesting, and I like that this does factor into the current stuff going on in the Marvel Universe. But a lot of this issue is, I mean, it's no surprise to say, I think this is, we looked it up, and it seems to be a 5-issue miniseries.
Yeah.
Knull's not going to be in the cage for this entire thing, but how does Knull get out of this? It's a really interesting, not very straightforward way, but I do think, Queen in Black is going to be kind of a battle of who is going to be this taking on this mantle. It could end up being Knull versus Hela, but there is a lot going on here, and by the last page you have there's a cool surprise, and you do kind of see, oh, this is what the series is going to be about. It is interesting to see Knull, who is this character that is God tier strong, like above God tier. This is like a celestial Galactus level threat, taken low and put in a cage and like seen as kind of weak, but how does he recover from that?
Yeah, that may not last too long.
That may not last too long, but it is interesting to see all of that. So this was a really fun issue. It's a great start to this mini-series and to what I assume is going to lead into a lot of stuff later this year. Again, the art by Juan and Ramirez is incredible.
The artwork is great. There's some great action. There's some bloody violence. Visually, this looks great.
Yeah. And this is, Knull separated from his symbiote.
Right. It's just him, yeah.
It's just him. So you'll have to read it. I don't want to give too much away because where this goes is really cool with a lot of action.
I do want to, you mentioned, Knull wants nothingness. I want to apologize to Marvel because when we talk about this on Comics from the Future, the solicitation, there's a line that says his captors think Knull has nothing to fight back with, but in Knull's hands, nothing is a weapon. And I remember making fun of them saying, that sounds weird because it sounds like he's very incompetent. Nothing is a weapon in his hands. Now that I've read this, I totally understand. They were right to say that. In his hands, nothing.
Because that's what he's all about.
Yeah, nothing. Like if this were nothing, in his hands, nothing is a weapon. I was like, that makes total sense. That's genius.
Yeah.
So my apologies for making fun of you, Marvel. It sounded weird, but now I get it.
Yeah. So overall, I really like this. I am for sure interested in the next issue, especially how this one ended. And it makes me excited because we are getting a free comic book day book or comic giveaway day or whatever Marvel's calling it. There is a Queen in Black story that's going to be in there, and it's making me more excited for that because I think this could be really, really interesting.
I liked it quite a bit. I didn't quite understand a couple parts with like how Hela was able to capture him and that kind of stuff, but
there is a little bit of like, we need like 1 week before to see exactly what happened. I feel like we will get that, and we'll learn a bit more about how Knull ended up in this situation. But from where this starts, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, when they first announced this, I was like, really? No, I'm kind of tired of the symbiote stuff and all that. But I was into this. I read it. And I was like, yes, I would want to read that next issue, especially with what the last page is.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, give me more of that. I'm interested in this.
Yeah, always happy for that.
Yeah.
So I actually only have the A cover to show here. I think we've sold out. If there were variants, we're sold out of all of them, but go ahead and grab the A cover while you can.
I'm pretty sure we didn't have any variants over there. You can always check infinityflex.net. If we do have variants, they will be there. But I don't remember seeing any when we were pulling these.
You saw nothing.
Get it? Okay. Well, I want to talk about Dungeons of Doom #1. Because when they first announced this book, I was like, what?
You have a sour attitude.
I was a negative Nancy going into some of these stuff, but when they announced this, I was like, because I was excited about like the end of One World Under Doom, and I was excited about the Will of Doom, and then how that's going to lead into Captain America, all that stuff.
It did feel a little bit like, okay, you're milking this, maybe a little bit more than is needed.
Yeah, and you know, so I was like, this feels out of place with all the other Doom related stuff that we're getting post One World Under Doom. I'm happy to say that I thought this was awesome. This is probably my number 2 pick of the week behind DCKO. So this is written by Philip Kennedy Johnson and Benjamin Percy. The art is from Justin Mason, Robert Gill, Carlos Magno, George Ginty, and Carl Story.
Which makes sense when you read it, why there's so many artists.
The issue starts with a big battle between the American military forces and the Latverian military forces, and it's happening outside of Doom's castle in Latveria. And we've seen it a little bit. We saw it at the end of Red Hulk. We saw it at the end of One World Under Doom. We saw it in the Will of Doom book. Like General Ross and America wants Latveria for themselves, basically. And so there's these two factions fighting each other for control of his castle. And then things get even more complicated when Red Hulk intervenes and Hydra shows up too. That's not a spoiler. That's like page 2 or whatever. Yeah. So there's this big battle going on.
There's kind of a lot of factions involved.
So there's a big battle going on, and the ground collapses, and these different factions fall into these like deep catacombs that are deep underneath Doom's castle. And from there, the book is split up into chapters, and each chapter follows a different faction as they're navigating through these catacombs. Now, this isn't like a superhero-y book. Like Red Hulk's in this, but other than that, there's no superheroes. There's nothing like that. It's just like these military guys.
It's like almost like a horror movie, like The Descent.
Yeah.
Or something, like an underground, like, oh no, there's things under here too.
Yeah, and it's not just like empty tunnels that these guys are walking through. One of the factions sees like all these doors, these big like heavy wooden doors, and another faction sees all these sarcophaguses. Yeah, sarcophaguses. Yeah, and they right, the sarcophagi over there, the sarcophagals over there. So this story is they have to contend with the horrors that they find down there. What is behind these big giant wooden doors? What is inside these sarcophaguses? Like, what has Doom been hiding down here? Or has he been hiding them? Has he been keeping them locked down there so that they didn't threaten the world? We don't really know yet. But if you took the Marvel logo off this and you removed the reference to Doctor Doom off the cover, this would still be an awesome horror book.
Yeah.
Because you have these I say 3 groups. Red Hulk is down there too, but he's kind of off by himself. We don't see him too much. But you see these 3 other groups. You see some of the American military, some of the Latverian military, and some Hydra guys. They're at different places in these catacombs, and what they see down there is like terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's so good. There's another. I won't say what it is.
I have big questions for, because that could be something.
Yeah. So and there's another interested party as well, but I'll leave. We see that at the end. I'll leave that to you to read for yourself. But I thought this was awesome. Like, this almost feel like it could be like a. I can't get too much. House of Mysteries book or something like that, like a Marvel horror book. Yeah, House of Secrets, that kind of thing. This feels like it could be that. So I don't know if this will amount to much in the post One World Under Doom Marvel universe that they're setting up with Will of Doom and Armageddon and all the stuff that's going to happen there, or if it's just like a fun 3-issue thing and that's it after that. Either way, I'm on board to read this. So this was really, really cool. So if you're wanting something a little bit different, even though it's got Dr. Doom's face on it and it's after One World Under Doom, this does feel a little bit different from a lot of other things that Marvel's putting out. So check this out if you just want a cool read. Because it's like some of the things that they see that like it's pretty terrifying. There's some body horror stuff.
I do feel like there could be stuff here that could have longer ramifications.
Maybe.
Because there is one scene, the one I just pointed out to you, that's like, I'm interested in maybe something they find down there.
Yeah.
And what that means for the future.
And it's not just like one thing. It's not like, oh, the Grail's down there and that's it. No, it's like all kinds of stuff down there.
And I love just kind of what that means for Doom as well. That like, you didn't what you knew of Doom was just the surface level. You didn't know what crazy stuff he was experimenting on, or did he have some kind of weird portals down there to just like Lovecraftian worlds?
Exactly.
I mean that has me excited where it's like I wouldn't mind like a Tales from the Crypt, but it's like Tales from Doom's Dungeon.
Crypt, yeah.
And like what all weird stuff has he been doing down there?
Yeah.
I think, this is definitely not one to sleep on.
Yeah.
Especially because I feel like it wasn't marketed as well as it maybe should have.
Yeah.
Because I thought this was great. This is really up there as some of my favorite this week as well.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I was like, okay, let's read this and see what it is. And afterwards, I was like, oh my gosh, that was awesome. I want more right now.
Yeah, I think it's the tone. The tone is a thing that Marvel doesn't do too often. Of like this kind of creepy, a little bit not slow pace, but like methodical and building a lot of tension, but you don't know what's around the next corner. So,
yeah. This was great. So I highly recommend this one if you're looking for something just different and fun to read. So there's our A cover right there, and we don't have any other variants other than the 1 in 25, 1 in 25 our Rio variant that we're selling for $14.99.
Well, next up I have the return of Tomb Raider to Dark Horse. This is Tomb Raider Sacred Artifacts. It's not like Tomb Raider went to a different publisher, but years ago, Dark Horse, that was one of their main books that they published. That was one of their big titles. I mean, you had Adam Hughes on covers. You had incredible writers and artists on a Tomb Raider series. So it does feel crazy that it's been a while since. I think the only time we really got Tomb Raider stuff is when there's like one of the games and it tried to tie into the games a little bit more. But this does feel a little bit more like classic Tomb Raider. So this is by Casey Gilly and Antonio Di Caprio. And it is, I believe what I remember reading before, this is set between the kind of 2.0 games, the revitalization, where it's a younger Lara Croft when she gets the little pickaxe thing.
Yeah.
And the modern games, because you can see she's got that, but she's dressed with like the blue top and stuff. So this is kind of an in-between of those eras for Lara Croft. And it's really interesting because it begins with her being interviewed for almost like I don't think it's like an HGTV type thing, but it is, they're interviewing her because of the Croft Mansion, which is, a long thing. I mean, back to the first game, you running around the mansion. And she's been doing some major renovations to it. And I do believe it does call back to one of the last games where someone set the house on fire. I think it was the second game, but I don't remember for sure. But she's decided to flesh out the library, and they even ask her, like, are you going to make it like a public library? And so Lara Croft is just overall a good person. She's very forward with her money and stuff, but this is all juxtaposed of her like in this nice white suit being interviewed to her in a scene much like this of climbing up the side of ruins in Spain, where you get your much more traditional Lara Croft stuff where it's these old ruins, she's jumping over stuff, climbing stuff, and there she runs into a very mysterious and kind of scary masked character that's wearing a robe, a very kind of like cultish character. And that's where the story starts to unfold a little bit more, where we learn that they're both after this sacred dagger that has some pretty astounding powers. But because of that dagger, it's going to pull the story of her in the mansion and the story of her climbing on here into one. And I think by the end of this, you're going to see where this series is going to go. I think this is maybe a 5-issue mini-series, but I would love to see a bigger kind of concerted push from Dark Horse for more Tomb Raider, because I just think that's kind of in their DNA. Michael Turner worked on the original Tomb Raider. I mean, some great stuff. They just put out the big colossal edition.
Those big
omnibus.
Giant hardcovers are gorgeous.
Yeah, they're bigger than an omnibus in height and everything.
Yep.
So let's hope this is the beginning of a new long run of Tomb Raider. But really fun, so I would recommend it if you're a Tomb Raider fan. We've got our A cover here, and that's the only cover I have for this one to show off.
All right, we're going to talk about Logan Black, White, and Blood #1. And you guys know the deal with these Black, White, and Blood books. There are in this one, there's 3 different short one and done stories by different creative teams. And I think we had a Wolverine Black, White, and Blood before,
It was
didn't
one of
we?
the first ones, I think.
Yeah, but this one is dealing with Logan, outside of Wolverine and the X-Men and stuff like that. This is just him. So the first one is called Arms Race. It's from Tom Waltz and Alex Lins. This is actually set in Korea in 1951, and Logan comes into conflict. His squad has been just decimated, and we see him laying with his guts out. But of course he heals up, and he sees that it's because of these cybernetically enhanced Russian soldiers who wiped out his entire platoon, and so he has to confront them. There's a story called Times Square Red, from Saladin Ahmed and Adam Kubert. I liked this one because it's set in New York City in the 1970s, and Logan tracks down a serial killer in a real seedy part of town that the cops can't be bothered to patrol or investigate any crime. So Logan takes it on himself to find the serial killer. And then the last story is called Red Claws. It's from Larry Hama and Dave Watcher. And this takes place in the snowy Canadian wilderness shortly after Logan has escaped from the Weapon X facility. So he's still not really, he's still more feral than normal. And he runs into a pair of poachers who try to kill him. And maybe that was a bad idea. And I remember you said the other day about how you like Wolverine in the snowy Canadian wilderness. That's exactly what that is. So yeah, just 3 great one and done stories. The artwork on all 3 of them is really, really good. They're all black and white, and then of course, with red accents, and there's lots of blood in this too. So yeah, just different than any of the other ones, but all 3 stories I really liked, and they all looked great. So there's our A cover right there, and we have a Sorrentino variant.
Well, next up, I have Aquaman issue number 13. This is a DCKO tie-in, very loosely, kind of one of the loosest ones we've got so far, but there is some tie-in with that. So, this mostly deals with Mara on the outside of the tournament. Aquaman, of course, is in there, but she is investigating since Atlantis. She escaped from Atlantis and learned that, Aquaman thought this entire time that Atlantis was destroyed, that Mara died, all of that. Well, Mara got out and now is trying to figure out everything that's going on. And this leads her to Zebul, or Zebul, her where she's originally from, not Atlantis, but this other place. And she runs into Nereus, which I guess is her father. I always forget if it's like her adoptive father or her actual father.
I thought it was her father. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. But she learns from him about kind of the crazy stuff that's been going on the outside with Andrina, who is, when Aquaman last saw her, thought that was his daughter all grown up. But we start to learn that maybe there's something a little bit weirder going on here, as Nereus tells Mara that this woman showed up who looked just like Mara, but had something and could change what she looks like, and some of the people around her could change what they looked like. And this is setting up a pretty big revelation at the end of this issue about who might be behind all of this, and it's a pretty big deal for the Aquaman book. Now, the other part that is tied in with DCKO is we have 2 pages. It's a left page and a right page that take place during issue 3 of DCKO. So, like you said in our shorter show, read DCKO number 3 first before reading this if you're getting both of them, because it does reveal who Aquaman teams up with in the tag team fight. It is a really nice moment that kind of happens right before they start fighting.
It's not a major spoiler for DCKO, but it does show you who Aquaman selects, and like you said, it's a cool moment, and it's cooler to see that moment in DCKO.
Yeah, and this kind of fleshes out a conversation they have before the fighting commences. But still a great issue of Aquaman and what it's building towards. Especially when Aquaman gets back from it, we're changing the title to Emperor Aquaman.
Yeah.
Which, what does that mean?
Yeah.
But very excited for all of this to come. So we've got our A cover here. We've got a Eom cover with Aquaman. And we have... yeah, this is the Zerdy variant.
All right, we're going to talk about Ultimates number 20. And this continues the story from last issue involving the Wasp and Nick Fury, and also surprise Vision, the ultimate version of Vision. So we learn where this version of Vision came from, and we learn about the work he's been doing, and it goes back further than you might think. We get a little bit of Nick Fury's backstory as well, because he's been kind of a big question mark ever since we saw him for the first time, I think, in the 1 year in one shot.
Yeah.
So we get a little bit more about his backstory. This does tie into Ultimate Endgame pretty heavily, but it deals with stuff going on outside of the dome. So you're not going to see Spider-Man and Doom and Iron Lad and all that stuff. They're inside. But this is going on. This we saw a little bit in Ultimate Endgame #1. The all of the helicarriers, Shield's helicarriers are like destroying cities and stuff like that. And we see a lot. We see a lot of that in here.
With a pretty cool thing at the end.
There is something really cool. They combat those in a really cool way. Now the only thing I will say is I didn't quite understand everything that we were given here as far as where Vision came from and what his history with Nick Fury is and all that kind of stuff. I found it a little bit confusing, but maybe that's just me. Maybe you guys will have a better time with it. But I think, for the most part, I understand the gist of it. And the way that Vision works with the Ultimates is in the present day is really cool. So
there is another pretty surprising moment that happens on a helicarrier. Where a door opens, and I was like, "What? Like, there's a lot. There's a lot here.
There's a lot going on." Yeah. So
it does feel like, man, like a lot of the Ultimates this story could be stretched out quite a bit further to fully like dig into these characters' backstories.
This whole Vision and Nick Fury thing, that could be its own story arc.
Yeah.
But I think it's only going to last this issue and the last one. So we only have, I think, 4 issues left after this one. So there's our A cover right there, and we have this awesome Inhyuk Lee variant with the Ultimate Vision.
Yep.
And we have this
great.
Yeah, this 1 in 25 Carlos Magno cover that we're selling for $14.99. Now that actually doesn't happen, but it looks cool.
I love just seeing some Nick Fury, some classic Nick Fury,
yeah.
even though not classic, but he very much has the aura of the classic one. Well, next up, we've got Transformers issue number 28. And this is one it's like, oh, I really want to talk about it, but a lot of this is a spoiler. Just a lot. But that to say that there's a lot that happens in this issue. So it's full of surprises. It's brutal. We get some really cool stuff in the beginning where if you're a fan of Mask, you're going to be happy because what's his name?
Miles Mayhem?
Miles Mayhem has a really cool moment.
Yes, he does.
And it's probably the most substantial moment he's had so far in any of this.
Well, it's probably the most Mask moment that we've had in any of these books ever.
So that part is awesome. Also, we've got a great moment with RC and the rest of the Transformers. There's a page that's a kind of Transformers roll call.
Yeah.
And you get headshots of all of them. Mm-hmm. And it is also a nice reminder of like, okay, who's been kind of revived at this point?
Yeah.
Like, who are we dealing with? Yeah. And there is a really great follow-up for Megatron on the storyline that happened back in the one-issue story with Lullaby.
Lullaby, yeah, that was number 19.
Number 19, where Megatron went through a very, like, trials and everything. That comes back here, and it is pretty significant. And this is a crazy version of Megatron that you've never seen.
Yeah, we see the impact that those trials in that issue had on him here.
Yeah, and just the final, like, 2 pages with him are one of the craziest things so far.
Yeah, these are. I mean, if you don't know by now, if you've been reading this, but these are not your father's G1 Transformers, right?
So this may be my favorite issue since the new creative team came on with Robert Kirkman and Dan Mora.
Yeah.
And I'm really excited for what the future could hold for the Energon universe and maybe Free Comic Book Day and stuff like that with these characters. So, can't say much, but pretty significant stuff happens, and it's just overall a great issue with number 28.
We are going to be on a retailer call on the 29th with, I think, Robert Kirkman and some of the Skybound guys talking about all this stuff that's going on
Mostly
with
Battle
Skybound.
Beast, but I say they'll
Oh,
probably...
that's right. Yeah. Oh, my bad. I thought it was a Skybound. It's more of a Battle Beast thing, but yeah, maybe they'll drop some Skybound.
We've been in other calls about other things where Kirkman's like, oh yeah, and by the way, here's like all this other stuff about these other books. So yeah, I'm very excited. We've got our A cover here. I love seeing Bulkhead. He's great. We also have a Edgeker. This is the 1 in 25 that we're selling for $11.99 with Megatron. And we have a 1 in 50 Dan Mora kind of design variant. We're selling for $34.99 with Thundercracker, but in his Autobots
colors
and new logo.
Yeah. Still can't get used to that. My whole life I was told he's a Decepticon, but now he's a good guy. I don't buy it.
A plane that's good?
No. All right, so we're going to talk about the maybe most surprising book of the week, Uncanny X-Men number 22. So we are done with Age of Revelation, and now we want to check out all of the X-Men X books again. Now that everything's coming back and resuming, or new number ones and stuff like that. So even though I dropped off of Uncanny X-Men like a year ago because I just wasn't enjoying it. I'll just be honest. I wasn't really digging like the new kids. I wanted more Gambit and Rogue and Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and the book was bound and determined to make me care about the other kids, which I just didn't. But because Age of Revelation is over, I was like, okay, I'm gonna go back to it and see what's going on now that we're back to this. And this was really good. Like, I really, really liked this. So this is kind of sort of a sequel to Uncanny X-Men number 17. That was the issue with Mutina, who was the movie star mutant. She was in a movie, but she was also a mutant.
And it was a movie that was very, like, anti-mutant.
Yeah,
it's kind of anti-mutant propaganda.
Which is important to this story. And this also is kind of a one-and-done story as well. So Mutina shows back up at Haven House, and she, Wolverine goes out to confront her. She says, I want to be an X-Man because the movie has stirred up a lot of anti-mutant sentiment, and I'm getting blamed for it. She's like, I'm not even, all these different, like, all these mutants that are getting hurt, and so I'm not there. I don't have anything to do with any of this, but I'm getting blamed for all of this stuff. So my PR team says that if I can be an X-Man for like a month or two, that'll go a long way to, fixing my image.
And Wolverine really cares not.
Yeah,
Wolverine's like, you got yourself.
Wolverine's not having it, but also she doesn't ask for it very nicely either.
Yeah.
She's like, if you don't let me in, I'm gonna kill everybody. She's pretty confrontational about it. So this leads to a really cool fight between her and Wolverine, but then she makes a threat against Nightcrawler's girlfriend. And then so Nightcrawler has a one-on-one duel with her, which is really cool. And so I don't know much about her. I actually didn't read that first issue. Yeah. I remember when you talked about it, and
I liked that issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was also kind of she was introduced and walked out the door in the same issue.
Right. Well, she's back, so it's like her powers. I think I kind of understand them, but they're pretty cool.
I don't fully understand her powers.
Yeah, she's very formidable. She's able to hold her own against Wolverine and Nightcrawler. But yeah, this has some good action. David Marquez's artwork is great. And
for Nightcrawler fans, this is great.
Which Nightcrawler's been my favorite X-Man for like 30 years, so this was a treat for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was, and again, it's mostly Wolverine and Nightcrawler, and not the new kids, which I still don't care about. It's like, get rid of them. I just want the X-Men. But yeah, so I really, really liked this a lot. I'm gonna read the next issue to see, hey, maybe I need to hop back on and check this out. But a good restart to this series. So this is our A cover right there, and we have this really nice foil Wilson cover. It's not an incentive, but we are selling that one for $9.99 just because it's a nice foil. And then we have this Clayton Crane 1 in 50 that we're selling for $34.99.
Well, kind of staying on the X-Men wagon, we've got Sai Dimensional Rivals #1. This is an interesting book because it's a little bit tied in with Marvel Rivals, but not really.
I was wondering about the Dimensional Rivals part of it.
It's a little bit tied in with Pichimoko's Demon Days, but not really. It's kind of, I don't know, it kind of exists in this amorphous thing because there is a letter at the end of it that does talk about the idea of Marvel Rivals and kind of the dimensional stuff and all of that played a role in this. And there's a skin, I believe, of this version of Psylocke, Sai, in the game. So it plays off that a little bit.
See, I thought this whole book was about Raphael's weapons.
Oh yeah,
Sais, you know,
the forging of the Sais.
Right.
But this is by Peach Momoko, who is kind of the overall, the whole Demon Days was kind of her thing. But she does art and writes a portion of it. Iban Coelho does a portion of it, and Stan Sakai with Emi Fuji do a section of it. But it's not an anthology. It is one story, and this is not a one-shot. This is going to be a couple issues long. So I'll try to explain it a little bit. This does follow Sai, who was kind of conceived everything for Peach Momoko's Demon Days book, which is this other Momoko-verse version of Psylocke, along with her wolf named Logan. So they all kind of have their parallels to X-Men and Marvel stuff. But in this, there's a mysterious woman. It's her on the cover. She needs help because she has 6 magic stones, or like pebbles. And they're super powerful. Essentially, they're kind of nodding towards these are like the Infinity Stones. But there's a possibility of a 7th one. And she believes that Sai is the one who, like the one, kind of like Neo, is the one that is going to be able to find it and basically be able to tell it from all the other pebbles. Because it sounds like maybe it's at the bottom of a river or something like that. And that maybe she won't be corrupted by its power because it's very powerful. And Sai is like, well, why would I do this? And she's like, I'll also pay you. She's like, okay, I'll do it then. And she's like, where do I start? And this woman's like, oh, well, this pool over here, you've got to jump into it. And she's like, okay. And when she jumps into it, it's almost a dimensional shift thing, because then Ivan Coelho does some of the art on it, and Sai finds herself in a battle with some ninjas, and that part, the art in that is incredible.
Yeah, it looks great.
There's another character that's kind of referenced in there that's really cool, and then she moves on to the next one where Stan Sakai does part of the story. So it's all within the same story, but when the scene shifts because of something they do, it's a different artist that takes it on. And I think over all the issues, we're gonna have a bunch of different artists be doing the different parts of this. So it's really fun. It maybe is the most I didn't fully understand a lot of the Demon Day stuff. This one is a little bit more easy to follow than some of that. But I did like there's another classic X-Men character that has their like Demon Days version in here that I thought was really fun. And I am looking forward to seeing the other art styles and everything that's pulled into this. So what's it say on the cover? Yeah, Sai's multiversal journey to find the mythical 7th stone begins here. So, it's a little bit of like a hunt for the Infinity Stone story with Psylocke. But if you're a fan of Peach Momoko or the Demon Days stuff, definitely check this one out. We've got our A cover here by Peach Momoko. And I think it's cool that each of the artists got to do a cover. So we have a Stan Sakai cover. And we have an Ivan Coelho variant.
Okay, I've got here Doctor Strange #2. Now, I really liked the first issue of Doctor Strange, but this was a little bit hard to follow because there's a lot of new characters, and I'm not talking like new characters like, oh, big first appearance. I mean, something like that, because they were all in the first issue. But they're in Asgard. They're teaming up with the Angels of Heaven, and also some elves on Alfheim, and there's just a whole bunch of characters with very Asgardian names. It was really kind of hard to keep up with everybody. But Doctor Strange and Angela briefly battle Verboten, who is the dark wizard elf that they accidentally released last issue. He does get away, and then Strange and Angela return to heaven to tell Regent Idol, who is like the ruler of heaven right now. They tell her everything that happened. He tells her that Verboten actually has an evil version of her daughter, and he's like, it's weird because he had like a dark version of your daughter, but your daughter's right over there. And then so Regent Idol actually goes into this flashback and explains how it was possible. I didn't really follow it all. I thought it was a little bit confusing. And most of the issue is that flashback in them just talking to each other. So it wasn't all that much of an exciting issue. Like the battle at the beginning was cool because there's a lot of magic stuff and there's like a big dragon and things like that. But then afterwards, it's like everybody's just kind of talking to everybody else, and I didn't really know who was talking to who and whose history we were looking at and stuff. But if you enjoyed the first one, just want to let you know that the second issue is out on a Wednesday. So there's our A cover, and we have this really cool Edgecur variant with Angela, and then that's the dark version of the Regent's daughter.
Well, I missed this one earlier, but there's also an incentive for Sai Dimensional Rivals. Number one, this is the 1 in 25 Nogi-san variant. That's very cool. But moving on, I have Black Cat number 6. And this is the long-anticipated Daredevil issue. And it's really cool. So there's guest art by Andres Genolet. And in this kind of harkens back to some of the early issues of, early issues for 6 issues, but the first couple with all the vampires that Black Cat kind of disrupted their operation. So one night while Black Cat's asleep, 3 vampires show up at the base of her bed and are basically like, "You're late for your court appointment." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" And she even got a note about she had this court appointment with the vampires that she's just been ignoring. And she's like, "Oh no!" And they're like, to the vampires, everything. If you don't do this, it's death.
Yeah, everything is punishable by death to these vampires.
And so she's like, "Oh, okay, I've gotta do this. But I need a little bit of help. I need a lawyer." So Black Cat doesn't know that Daredevil is Matt Murdock. So she goes and finds Daredevil because she knows that he knows Matt Murdock and tries to get her in touch. So her and Matt Murdock head into the sewers where this court of vampires is taking place, and she has to stand trial for her crimes on disruption, basically, of their business.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. Of course, it breaks out into fights and all that kind of stuff, but it's just a really fun issue. It's great to see Black Cat and Matt Murdock together, and they're back and forth and all of that.
So it's not really a Black Cat Daredevil team up. The cover shows it's a Black Cat Matt Murdock team up. Is really more what it is.
And Daredevil's in it a little bit in the beginning, but it's the majority is her and Matt Murdock. But still, Matt Murdock does some butt kicking. That's really fun, and that pretty much wraps up. It doesn't wrap up the vampire story, but this trial and everything is wrapped up in this issue. So it's kind of a fun one and done for the most part, other than just how did she get in trouble with the vampires issue. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. So we've got our A cover here by Adam Hughes. And we have a 1 in 25 Matteo Delafonte variant that we're selling for $12.99. That was really nice.
Yeah, I like that one. Okay, well, we've got Avengers number 34, which is also Avengers Legacy number 800. This is the penultimate issue. This is the next to last issue of this run of Avengers. And in this one, the Avengers and the Twilight Court work together to fight Kang, because this continues that story that they've been telling over the last several issues of, of the Twilight Court and Kang and the big revelation about who Mirrodin is and all that stuff. The only thing is, it's a little bit weird because the Avengers fight Kang by telling him how great they are. They don't really fight him all that much. They just say, well, you think that we're not worthy to do this, but you weren't there when we defeated the vampires during Blood Hunt, and you weren't there when we beat Doom after he tried to take over the world, and you didn't see us do this awesome thing and that awesome thing.
That feels like the fight in It when they defeat Pennywise by being confident and not scared of him.
Right. Now, I understand because this is an anniversary issue, so it's and it's a big number 800, right? So it's a big, recapping some of their big accomplishments over the last couple of years and that kind of thing. But, it's still not done. I mean, there's one more issue in this story, so the fight or the situation with Kang still is unresolved. And in fact, by the time you get to the end of the story, it has actually escalated. And so it's like, well, next issue, I wonder how they're going to get out of all this. But yeah, it wasn't a bunch of slamming and pow and bam and biff and all that stuff. It was like, we're great because we won this fight and we won that battle. And
is he like, no, that hurts.
Well, kind of. He kind of oh, I didn't realize, and oh, now I know why I can't ever bring myself to kill you myself because all this kind of thing. So it was a little bit weird. I think the bigger draw to this issue is the 14-page backup story by Brian Michael Bendis and Mark Bagley. They are back at Marvel, at least for this story. In much ballyhooed return of those guys. Now they tell a completely different Avengers story that is not connected to anything. That's a very important thing, and it's not going to lead into any new Avengers series or anything like that. This is a completely self-contained Avengers story that has no ties to anything else, and it's all about Captain America puts out a call for backup because he's like in the bushes, like spying on Hydra as they are unveiling a new weapon, and Iron Man is the first one to show up, and Iron Man reminds Captain America that, hey, this is the anniversary of when the Avengers first formed, and that's cool. And then Thor shows up, and Hulk, and over the course of this story, a whole bunch of different Avengers respond to Captain America's call that he put out for backup.
You say they assemble?
They a little bit, yeah. You can say that they do.
The Avengers assemble?
Yeah, so I will say that it's very Bendis-y in that Bendis loves to hear his characters talk to each other, and that's a lot of what this backup story is.
They all kind of have a Spider-Man personality.
Well, yeah, so they're all talking to each other. Most of them is just them talking to each other while they're spying on Hydra, and every single character that shows up is very quippy. Like you said, Spider-Man personality, I'd maybe crank that up another notch or something. Like, not Wolverine. Hulk is quipping, Thor is quipping. Everybody's got like little funny little zingers and one-liners and stuff. And I was like, I don't really,
I think it's going to be interesting because, it has been quite a few years since Bendis was at Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a significant amount of time. And there's so many new comic readers.
Yeah.
I wonder how they are going to respond to this. Because for us, we've been like, we've read a Bendis quippy a lot. Will they like it or not? Because it's a different era of comics now. We had Bendis on Avengers for a long time where they were all quipping all the time.
Yeah, and I've kind of, we sort of gotten away from that.
Yeah.
I've kind of gotten used to that not being a thing, and now everybody just like zing, and Hulk smashes a big robot. He's like, you told me not to smash it, but you told me to. I don't know. It's so wasn't quite the grand return to Avengers that I was hoping for from Bendis, but you guys might like it. I don't know. That's just me. But
it is Bendis condensed into 12 pages.
Yeah.
So I mean, his Ultimate Spider-Man was not that all the time,
right.
And even his Avengers Disassembled was not that all the time.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, oh my gosh, he did Disassembled and New Avengers, and that stuff was great.
Yeah.
So. Maybe he just like had.
He also did Superman at DC for a little while.
Sure did.
Enough said that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that's the big draw to this book is Bendis's return. So, and then we have one more issue of this run before the whole thing is done, and who knows what after that. I kind of feel like we won't get another Avengers book until after the Armageddon event is over because I feel like that's going to have something to do with Avengers as well because it says like. The Armageddon event is going to shake up the Avengers like they like never before since Disassembled or something like that. So
and it could be pretty close to Avengers Doomsday when that comes out too, which is a little bit of a Marvel thing they like to do.
Are you saying that they like to really marry up their comics with their movies?
I'm saying you might see an Avengers #1 at the same time that there is an Avengers movie.
I don't see it happen. Okay. They wouldn't do that.
Sorry, crazy theory.
Crazy theory.
I had one of my crazy theories.
Yeah, I know, right? MCU synergy. I don't even know what that means. But, if you've been reading this Avengers or if you want to see Brian Michael Bendis' return to Avengers, then definitely check this out. And this is actually the only cover we have.
Wow.
Oh, but it is a wraparound cover.
So it's like you get two covers.
Right.
By Russell Dodderman.
Yep, that's right.
Well, next up, I have the final issue of Star Wars Legacy of Vader. This is number 12. This has been my favorite Star Wars book currently coming out. Very sad to see it end because I think this has been, Charles Soule is one of my favorite modern Star Wars writers. And his Vader run, I'll always say, is one of my favorite, not just Star Wars comics, but comics of all time. And this has been a great kind of tonally very similar to his Vader. So, in this, Kylo finally ventures into the deepest depths of Vader's castle, which feels very much like Luke on Dagobah going into the cave. we almost don't see really what these depths of Vader's castle look like because it's all a vision. It's all, incorporeal. It's all this kind of stuff, and it's kind of unreliable. And there, he is confronted by Vader. Kind of his ultimate goal. He's Vader's number one fan. He that's who he models his life after, and it's a harsh reality when he is confronted by Vader. Now, is it a spirit of Vader? Is it Kylo's projection of Vader? I feel like it's kind of like that because it is what Luke saw was himself as Vader. It was kind of his honest truth about what he is feeling, kind of revealed. Well, Kylo goes through a lot of that where he is confronting with Vader, but Vader is not welcoming. He's not, he basically says, "What have you been wasting all your time trying to be me? You can't be me. You're just a kind of a pale imitation of who I am. Um, what were you searching all this time for? You did all of this stuff. You're just kind of in the shadow of me," which is kind of what this entire series has been about. But then we really learn who mentally Kylo is facing in this moment. Um, it's very like I said, Luke in the cave. It's very much finally confronting what Kylo never knew or always knew, that kind of thing. Um, I will say that the ending of this is very cryptic but hopeful message for possibly a sequel series to this.
Okay.
Now, to say, it's like if you said, at the end of a Captain America series that ended, Captain America will return.
Mm-hmm.
You go, well, I assumed I know there's other stuff Captain America's in, or are you referring directly to this one?
Yeah.
That's kind of the question here is like, well, yeah, this takes place before Rise of Skywalker. We know Kylo will be back for this, or are we alluding to he will be back in another
comic book, another series
that we don't quite know? And there's kind of there's a something else that's kind of mysterious that we don't get all the answers for, that feels like, okay, the door's open here. I hope it's not just Charles Soule being like, look, I left an open door, can I do another one?
Yeah.
And more of Marvel being like, this one's ending, but we're going to start another one called like The Fall of Kylo Ren, or some other kind of title like that. So we'll have to see. I thought this was great. I think this series is great, and I think once this volume's collected, read the entire thing, because it's been a great kind of filling in the gaps of Kylo's journey to where we eventually see him. So, and there's super deep Star Wars lore thing, but I have another friend who is equally in the muck of Star Wars as I am, and I sent him a panel and said, this kind of looks like this thing from a long time ago, doesn't it? And he was like, I can definitely see that, and it's a thing that's kind of been rumored, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh, okay.
But that's my putting on my crazy Darth Vader conspiracy helmet.
Okay.
But yeah, overall, great issue of Legacy of Vader, and I'm very sad this is ending because also we don't know the future of Star Wars other than the Jar Jar book that it was just on FOC and the Darth Maul miniseries that is a prequel to the show on Disney Plus. There is no other Star Wars things on the horizon. So hopefully at a con or something coming up, there will be a big announcement, because that is also true for the publishing on the novel side. There is very few. We just went through all of the High Republic stuff.
Well, they're filming or finished filming that Starfighter movie.
Yep.
So maybe that'll bring in some new
Mandalorian
stories.
Grogu and Starfighter.
Right. Yeah.
My guess is maybe that they're kind of like reassessing the landscape. You're like, okay, now these are the projects we have coming out.
Yeah.
Now that we have enough information about them, can we tell our writers and artists,
yeah,
here's the field you're playing in now?
Not that there has to be a movie or a TV show to justify the creation of a new Star Wars series, but maybe they're trying to figure out like what can because it's all connected, right? The comics and the show, so maybe they're trying.
Is very like only this can happen in this time.
So maybe they're wanting to like. Let's take a little bit of a rest and figure out our main timeline, and then we'll get back to it. I hope
they come in, with a wrecking ball and say, like, here's 10 new, not series, but mini-series and ongoing, and, like, here's the next chapter in the Star Wars universe. Let's hope for that.
You
But
should call Miley Cyrus for help with that.
yeah, I've heard she comes in like a wrecking
Yeah.
ball. So here's your A cover, which is great. And we also have a 1 in 25 Kyle Hotz variant we're selling for $44.99 with some great Vader stuff.
Yeah. Okay, this is Beneath the Trees, Where Nobody Sees, Rite of Spring, number 5. This is the next to last issue of this series, unless I'm wrong, because I was wrong about DCKO too, but I'm pretty sure this is the next to last issue.
This would be the first time you're wrong.
So I know, right? It's bound to happen. Yeah. So I can't tell you much about this one because things are starting to come to a head in this, and I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that Samantha and Monica, who is the duck woman who's been looking for her brother this whole series, the two of them head out to the woods to look for Monica's brother's remains. Monica has done some detective work. Samantha has actually given her some clues because Samantha, again, she's getting a sick thrill out of this because
Monica's brother Ross.
Could be. Could be. She does have like the black hair, like Monica does. But it's funny because Samantha is the person that Monica's been looking for this whole time, and Samantha's right there.
And she's taking some kind of sick.
She really is. She's like, I can't believe she's looking for the killer, and I'm right here. Tee hee hee. She's really enjoying this. But so while they're out in the woods looking for her brother's remains, they do find something, and Monica is not prepared for what they find, and they're not the only ones out in the woods as well. And what does all that mean? So this is a major turning point in Samantha's story. And then so I showed you the last couple pages, which get yeah. And so yeah, I don't know where this is gonna go. When the series is over, I hope this never ends because Beneath the Trees Volume 1 and now Volume 2 has been so great. But yeah, this is the next to last issue, so don't miss it if you've been buying it. Especially don't miss this issue for sure.
If you're a fan of Sam, check out the DCKO boss battle.
Some of my favorite moments in that book are with her. So
yeah.
And that is, can I just say, that's so ridiculous, but in the best way possible.
And they lean into the ridiculousness of that.
Yeah, it's utterly ridiculous.
The correct questions are asked in that scene too about talking.
I say ridiculous with love because it's so cool. So this is our A cover here. We've got a bunch of variants for this one. So this is the Fleeks movie homage variant. This is the Beals, the cutesy like Berenstain Bears type variant. This is this is probably a 1 in 10 it is. I wrote it down. Yeah, the 1 in 10 Horvath variant that we're selling for $9.99. It's like the version of the A cover. Version of the A cover. This is the 1 in 25 Fleeks black and white variant that we're selling for $19.99. And then we have the 1 in 50 Beals Virgin variant that we're selling for $44.99.
Well, next up, we're turning to Marvel. Marvel had quite a bit this week. Mm-hmm. This is Luna Snow World Tour #1. I believe this is just a one-shot written by Greg Pak, and the art is by Ario Anadito and Takashi Miyazawa. And at first I thought, this is... Anytime it's like some of these characters, it does feel pretty heavily tied in with Marvel Rivals, even if it's not, because that's kind of where Luna Snow right now is like really shining as people know her from Marvel Rivals. But what I did think was really interesting about this is actually a One World Under Doom continuation, because Luna Snow makes her big return to stage after the events of One World Under Doom, because Tiger Division worked for Doom.
That's right.
In that miniseries, and people are not happy about that. She gets up on stage and gets called some pretty nasty things by people.
Okay.
So I was actually like, oh, this isn't just kind of a nebulous thing. This actually does reflect some of the stuff that was going on. So Luna Snow in the public eye in the Marvel Universe is not too good. She does still have some big fans, but there's definitely some outspoken people in her crowds that are yelling some terrible things, calling her some names.
Yeah, because I thought this was just a random, one shot, just not connected to anything at all. But that's cool and especially since that Tiger Division tie-in series didn't really matter much to the grand scheme of things. It was just kind of its own thing, but that's neat.
Yeah, that it actually kind of affects her as a character and the other members. So what happens right when She has some naysayers and all that. A new pop star rises up called Vibe, not DC's Vibe. Vibe.
That's the next Marvel DC crossover.
Luna Snow
Yeah,
and
Luna
Vibe.
Snow and Vibe.
Who's like all pink and hearts and that kind of stuff, who has a very persuasive manager, and now everyone literally like watches Vibe and gets little heart eyes and stuff. Like they are infatuated with her. But maybe there's more going on to this than, we all know that Luna Snow's the good guy and there's a bad guy involved somewhere. But you'll have to definitely find out because it is pretty surprising what happens. We do get some other very cool characters cameoing in here, some other Tiger Division characters and more. So that's really fun. I'll say like this felt a lot kind of like the Dazzler mini series. It's concerts. It's oh no, people are causing trouble at a concert. That kind of thing. So it was fun. I don't think it really is going to amount to a whole lot, but it was a pretty fun one shot, especially if you're a fan of Luna Snow and Tiger Division and that group of characters. So we've got our A cover here, and like I said, why it feels so tied in with Marvel Rivals is there is this first look at the Marvel Rivals Disco Revolution costume variant. So this was kind of a classified variant, but this is your first reveal of the new costume in the game.
Nice. All right, next up is Amazing Spider-Man Torn #4. I don't know if this is the next to last issue or if there's two more after this. I think it's a 5-issue series. But in this one, the mysterious forces behind the Proteus Maleficarum, which is the book that everybody's been chasing after this whole series, well, they tell Evangeline that it needs Spider-Man, or the book needs Spider-Man's blood to fully open a portal that will let them conquer Earth. They already got Evangeline's blood, and that was kind of like the first phase. But they say now we need the blood of the other person who was there when that happened, and then everything can sort of come together, and we can get out of this dimension and conquer the planet. But Evangeline actually doesn't want any part of that at all, because they also tell her if you do that, we'll return you back to your human form. So you would think, oh, no brainer, she's gonna go, but she actually doesn't want any part of it, and she even says that maybe it's worth staying in this form if it means that the bad guys can't take over the world. So she actually talks to Spider-Man about it in a really funny scene where she's pretty sullen. She's sitting on the top of a building, and Spider-Man is like, oh, I'm ready to fight her again, but she doesn't do anything, and he kind of like pokes her with a stick, and he's like, hello, are you okay? So they actually have a talk about it. So that's all the Spider-Man stuff. But then on a personal level, Peter Parker is on thin ice with one of his college professors. Harry and his father Norman, they have a falling out too, because one of the cool things about this series is it's not just a Spider-Man story. It's about Peter and Harry and MJ and Gwen. So there's like there's the non-superhero, the civilian aspect of it as well. So we get some of that in here too. So yeah, but if you've been buying this, I don't miss the next issue. This is the A cover. And
nice
we
Roberto
have
Ramos A cover.
Yeah, and then we have this Cosmic Invasion variant. And I like this one. This is the 1 in 25 Mark Buckingham variant that we're selling for $19.99.
Well, next up, I've got a one-shot. This is Wonder Woman Black and Gold, the 2026 special #1. This is just a one-shot. It's an anthology, of course, like all the black, white, or black and gold, or whatever ones. This one's really fun. So it's got a few stories in it. We've got one from Mitch Gerads and Tom King. We've got one from Alyssa Wong and Karen Darboe. We have Steve Orlando and Rossi Gifford and Jordi Belair and Paulina Ganichow. I'll talk about a couple of them. So the Tom King and Mitch Gerads one is called Decent Docent, which is actually really fun. There's a big museum that's having a Wonder Woman Day and kind of a lot of like paintings and that kind of stuff. But there's a young girl who won I think it was, they say it's an art contest, but she won. And so she gets to meet Wonder Woman. And so she is so excited. She's like #1 fan of Wonder Woman. And one of the people who works at the museum, who's kind of putting on this event, comes to her and is like, hey, so excited you won all of that, but Wonder Woman is going to be a little bit late. She got caught up doing something. And the girl's like, I don't care. I'm gonna tell you why I love Wonder Woman. And we see then what Wonder Woman is doing, and she's just one after another, these villains that keep coming at her, all these like crazy like D-list, F-list characters that she's fighting off, but it's just one after another, and we see the time get later and later and later. And this girl's enthusiasm never goes down. But what happens at the end, you'll have to read it to find out. That was a really cute, really fun story. Really accentuating why Wonder Woman is so great. There is the Alyssa Wong and Karen Darboe story called Last Flight, where Wonder Woman teams up with Xanth from Spirit World. That'll book.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting. There's also one from Steve Orlando called The Truth Unreal, and the Jordi Belair and Paula Gana-Chow one is called Peach Thief, and it's kind of like a little Wonder Woman story.
Okay.
So yeah, this is fun, especially that main story, the first story in here. I thought was really good, and just a great kind of reflection on Wonder Woman. Plus, you get to see some great weird villains.
Yeah.
I think Folding Man is in there.
Okay.
Which is a great character that can just fold things. But yeah, so we've got our A cover here. I think that's at Cliff Chiang. Yeah, Cliff Chiang. That's your new 52 Wonder Woman artist. And we have a Mitch Gerads variant as well.
My last one is Battleworld number 5, and just wanted to let you know about this one because it is the last issue of this miniseries. The Korvac seeks help from the Wasp and Hank Pym to try to figure out how to win back the love of Karina, who he is still in love with, who I believe is the Grandmaster's daughter, if I'm not mistaken. And there is a little bit of action, but mostly it's kind of like the Avengers book, where mostly they just they sort of talk him down and say, well, you should try this and you should do that and that kind of thing. And that kind of like talks him down and maybe makes him realize that everything he's been doing is wrong. The only thing about this is it has a very surprising ending that could lead to some more kind of unusual stories. I didn't see it coming. It's not like a big like universal reset. It's nothing like that. But I just didn't expect to see it, and I was like, I wonder why they put this ending in particular in here and where they're going to go with it. It's one of those things that says the end question.
Yeah.
So kind of a weird ending for this book, but yeah, maybe they're planning on making some more stories with Korvac or some alternate universe stories or something. But yeah, just want to let you know the final issue of this is out. Marcus Toe's artwork through this has been great. Like this has been a really visually, this has been a great series. That's our A cover right there, and we have this really awesome Nick Bradshaw variant. None of that happens. I don't know why Daredevil and Kingpin are on the cover, but it's cool to see
part of that
them.
big connecting thing.
Oh, it is part of that connecting cover, yeah. So it looks great, but that doesn't happen.
I think most of the characters that are on those connecting covers aren't.
Well, they weren't in it, yeah.
That's what they were all doing.
Right, right.
Next up for me, I've got Supergirl number 9. Just quickly mention this one. We got Joe Quinones on art, which is great, and it's a New Year's issue. Where the gang, Supergirl, and some of her friends and some of the supporting cast go to a party that gets a little out of hand, and when a drink is spiked with a certain kind of kryptonite, it definitely affects Supergirl and the other Kryptonian that is in the room, and is played for laughs at first, but by the end is pretty devastating. So just a fun issue of Supergirl I wanted to mention. There's your A cover. And we also have this.
Oh, that's great.
Fan Yang. I think I got this cover. That one's really.
That one's awesome.
Are you out?
Yeah, I'm out.
Okay, then lastly, I've got G.I. Joe number 17. This is part 5 of the Dreadnought Wars. This is your final part of that story. So I don't want to give away too much about it, but it's the biggest of the big showdowns between the Dreadnoughts and Cobra and G.I. Joe. But I will say that the final, 3 pages, it's kind of an epilogue, will have you kind of thinking back to this entire run of G.I. Joe and question what was true all along. I'll say that.
Okay.
Very cool. Very excited for what's next. But, of course, G.I. Joe still firing on all cylinders. We've got your A cover here. And we also have this Lee Bermejo Destro variant. And we have a 1 in 25 Is this Jesus Sayas?
Is it? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. But this is the 1 in 25 we're selling for $9.99. The Road Pig. And that is it. Of course, we didn't go over everything that's coming out, so you can head on over to infinityflux.net, see all the stuff, all the variants, all the good stuff. Go ahead and place your orders because a lot of this will sell out. Even by Wednesday, it will sell out, especially since you can order it right now. So make sure you do that so you don't miss out on any of this awesome stuff.
And don't forget, if you are local, you can order right now and choose in-store pickup. And you can come by Wednesday or Thursday or Friday and pick it up. And,
Yep. That way, you just guarantee, especially if it's something you're not subscribed to, if you're like, oh, I really want to get that, why not go ahead and just order it, have it waiting for you when you come by and pick it up. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel because we've got a lot of cool stuff planned for this year. We've got our next live video coming up on Wednesday.
First one of the year.
First one of the year. That's going to be really cool. And we've got more, since we're just getting started with the year, they're already packing in the weeks full of awesome books. So come next Monday, it's going to be another big week.
Yeah, I think next week is a bigger week than this week. So next Monday's show will be even bigger than this one.
Check out our Friday show where you can pre-order stuff on Comics from the Future. You know how it goes. So until next time,
see ya.